Hey viewers, my name's Cara. Of course I come out here to record a video and immediately there's a bunch of noise happening outside, neighbor's dog barking, all kinds of stuff. So, welcome to it. This is what it is. This is just gonna be a really laid back, casual, chatty video because I've been doing a lot of editing since I regained the ability to edit, and I really liked the fact that since I had a couple of projects planned and I started editing them ahead of time and then like knowing when I was going to post them, I had a couple of videos ready like in advance, and I would love to be able to keep doing that, but sometimes I just can't prep quite that far ahead, or I just can't do it every single week. So I was doing an extra project this past week, an extra video editing project for the Pagan Perspective collab to celebrate the 10th anniversary. So that video was posted on the Pagan Perspective this past Sunday. And so because I was working on that over the weekend, I didn't start working on a video for my channel early. And I was going to like yesterday and the day before, because it's also subs week, double subs weeks on Pagan Perspective right now to celebrate the collab anniversary, so I didn't have to do a video on Tuesday. So I kind of took it easy on Tuesday, and then like yesterday I was going to try to come up with a video to do for today so that I could be working on it yesterday and today, have a little more time, maybe it would still be edited, you know, whatever, and then that could go up today. But I just could not figure out what I wanted to do. And then yesterday I also, along with a lot of other people in the world, yesterday I just found out about the Amazon rainforest being on fire, and the fact that it has been for a couple of weeks, so that's a thing. So I spent a lot of yesterday kind of like sharing information about that and reading about it and sharing a ritual and spell that's shared by the reclaiming community in Brazil, which involves a sigil, map, and a bowl of water and stuff like that. And then today I set up an altar in our house for that ritual, did that, and it's an ongoing thing that you can keep going back to. So on my Instagram I shared that, and so yeah, I kind of got distracted yesterday by that, and that's not something I wanted to make a video about, just that anyway, but I'm talking about it here because it's something that's been on my mind a lot today and yesterday, and it's like something that I've been doing things surrounding a lot today and yesterday. Sharing about it, reading about it, setting up the altar, doing the ritual, things like that. So yeah, I had a couple of ideas in mind for a video for this week, but couldn't really decide. Nothing really felt right, and I'm also just kind of having a very, very low energy couple of days. It's like when we got the computer, I was so excited to have a computer again and be able to edit again, and I had these projects lined up that I knew I wanted to do, and it's really exciting and it's fun. I can be creative again in ways that I haven't been able to be for the past year. So I feel like I was going a lot on that momentum. And my birthday was this past week as well. Of course, the Pagan Perspective was founded on my birthday 10 years ago, so there's that. Also, the past couple of days have been pretty gloomy here. We're getting a lot of rain, and so I actually collected some of the rainwater from the storm that we had last night. I'm using that on the altar for the sigil spell for the Amazon rainforest, for healing and protection for that region, and the planet in general, because of course we're all affected by what happens to the Amazon rainforest. It's very important to the planet. But anyway, yeah, sorry, it's really been occupying a lot of my thoughts today and yesterday, the rainforest. My partner also lived in the Amazon rainforest for a while before I met them. Lived with an indigenous community in the rainforest, not in Brazil, but in Ecuador, so on the opposite sort of end of it. And I've never been there personally, but so like because that forest has nurtured someone that I love and has been home to someone who I love and who is my home, I feel a much stronger connection to that rainforest, even though I've never been there. Even more so than I just think that everyone should feel concerned about its well-being, because we're all citizens of this planet and it's such an important part of our global ecosystem. But I have that kind of extra connection that, like, someone who I love, who is very important to me, has called that place home, has been spiritually and physically and mentally and emotionally nurtured by that place. So yeah, I'm trying not to just talk about that. But so it's been really rainy here again. Of course, it's a little bit sunny now, which is nice. I went outside for a walk a little bit ago to try to absorb some of the sunlight, because I'm one of those people that really is affected by the amount of light. And when I wake up and it's gloomy and dark, I know some people, that's like their jam. They're like, yes, I love cloudy, stormy days. Like, they're all about it. I'm not that. When I wake up and it's really gloomy and dark, I have trouble getting up and doing anything. I feel like I have no energy to do anything. Whereas if I wake up and it's bright and sunny, I might at first be a little bit bothered by the amount of light in the room. I sleep with a sleep mask on because of that. But after that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I have energy. I'm a little bit peppier. I'm a little more energized. So the actual weather here has been kind of affecting my motivation and energy levels as well as just general anxiety and depression, already affecting the amount of energy that I have on any given day, that all of us have on any given day. So I'm sure some of you can relate to that aspect. But yeah, so all of that combined, I decided to just do a little chatty video instead of doing another big edited thing, because I just couldn't decide on a good topic that I wanted to talk about for sure, and that I had the energy to do. You know, if I was going to do something else that required editing, and then of course it got to be late afternoon today on Thursday, and I'm trying to actually do a video for my personal channel every Thursday, and it's difficult staying on a regular schedule, doing something every single week, when I'm also doing so many other things throughout the week just around the house, and when I also have varying levels of energy. Like, I have got to stop and give mad props, like so much respect and admiration to people who have been on YouTube as long as I have and longer, who actually maintain a weekly video. Like Jenna Marbles. I love Jenna, and she has started now actually giving herself some breaks and like taking breaks here and there and allowing herself to have that breathing room. But for the most part, she's been doing this for longer than I have, or just as long, somewhere around there, and every week, and like, that's difficult. It is difficult to do. And so I really appreciate hearing her and Julian always talk about like how much energy really goes into things. And yeah, sometimes it's a week where you don't have the energy to go out and do a big crazy thing, so you do a slightly lower key thing, right? And Amazing Phil of Dan and Phil recently also did a video, the part 2 of his Draw My Life, and in that he was talking about the amount of work it takes to edit the way that he and Dan choose to edit their videos, and like how much extra work the gaming channel was that they didn't really anticipate. And so I totally understand people who have been doing this forever and on such a large scale and really maintaining pretty much a weekly presence. Don't even get me started on the daily vloggers like Shay Carl back in the day when I was starting on YouTube. This is kind of what I wanted to talk about in a video, but I'm doing it in a way more casual way. I wanted to talk about, like, you know, just the fact that the Pagan Perspective collab just turned 10, the 10th anniversary, We've been doing Pagan Perspective for 10 years. Granted, I do a video for Pagan Perspective every single week, and I've done that for 10 years, except for the weeks that we have off and like a few times when I couldn't make it because I was stuck at work or between work and rehearsal, and I had to have my sub fill in, or like sometimes that I was traveling or whatever. But like, for the most part, I've done a video weekly for Pagan Perspective for 10 years. So like, that should be something to me that says, yes, it's difficult, but you can do it because you've been doing it on Pagan Perspective. So that should mean that I can do it. But doing it weekly on my channel as well as on Pagan Perspective means doing 2 weekly videos. And that's, you know, I've never wanted to try to do that for my personal channel because I was like, that's a lot. You know, some people who post on their personal channel twice a week, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. How do you do that? But that's kind of essentially what I'm doing. I'm just splitting it between 2 channels. And typically Pagan Perspective gets my priority, but I also don't really edit those videos, especially now. Especially this past year, I've gotten used to doing these one takes. But even when I do some minor editing, it's not anything that takes me forever and ever and ever and ever. I am glad that I have the new computer now. It renders videos much faster, it uploads much faster, everything is a lot easier, so that is exciting. But yeah, so kind of wanted to do a video just talking about, like, I've been doing this for 10 years, I've been on YouTube for 10 years, and how have things changed. So I'm kind of getting into that anyway. Like, when I started on YouTube, I started watching YouTube really like in 2008. I started posting videos on YouTube in 2009, and at the time, I know, like, my friends in real life, my IRL friends, as well as my online friends, we all watched, like, Shay Carl do the daily vlogs of their family. And of course, we didn't realize at the time when we first started watching it, or maybe it's not something that came into play until later, but we didn't realize that someone else was hired to actually do their editing, so that they didn't have to also sit and edit an entire day's worth of footage and upload every single day, in addition to living their lives and recording it every single day. And I really appreciate, like, Jenna and Julian have talked about that too on the podcast, about how, like, they, at a certain point in their podcast history, they turned over the editing of the podcast to someone else. And that it was difficult to give up that control, but it was important for them as far as the way they spend their time to do that. And that Jenna's mom, Debbie, is really responsible for doing all of the legwork to get them their podcast sponsors and maintain those relationships. And that I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense, you know, because you see people doing things that you try to do yourself, and you're like, this takes so much time and so much work. How are people doing this every single week? How are people doing 3 different types of content that they're putting out on multiple platforms or across multiple YouTube channels or whatever they're doing? How are people doing this like 3 times a week or whatever they do? Like, Megan Ton just does so many things, so many side projects. It's garbage day and the neighbors are like dragging out their garbage cans, and I think one just fell over, so that's what that loud noise was. Real life. Yeah, like, Megan Ton just does so many things and so many different side projects, and like, so many of those people that I started watching 10 years ago when I started on YouTube, and I still follow them now, and a lot of them are still doing like crazy amounts of things, and you don't realize at first. I definitely didn't realize at first 10 years ago when we started watching these people that a lot of them aren't doing it all themselves, and that's okay. Like, that's a smart thing on their behalf. Megan Ton just does do all of her own editing and things like that, but it's also her entire full-time job, and it actually, like, pays her full-time. So yeah, like, I don't know, I just think there's a lot of stuff that's different about YouTube now too. Like, when I first started on YouTube 10 years ago-ish, some of my favorite channels to watch were 5 Awesome Gays and The Beaver Bunch. And they were my, like, introduction to the LGBTQ plus community via YouTube. And I spent a lot of my time watching those channels, and that's really where the concept of the collab channel came about. And for me and Kyle, and we watched those channels, and that's kind of how the idea for creating a pagan collab channel even started. So that's how the Pagan Perspective was born, because we loved watching Five Awesome Gays and the Beaver Bunch. I still follow several people from the Beaver Bunch and a couple of the people from Five Awesome Gays, Tyler Oakley, Corey Cool. Some other people I have sort of lost touch with over the years, stopped following them, or they stopped making content, but I still have a lot of love for those early channels that I watched. I looked back at my channel today to try to sort of remember some milestones, I guess, like if I did want to make this a 10 years on YouTube kind of video. And I mean, I do have a playlist of all my year in review videos, which I've done every year since I started making videos. So from 2009 up until the present, at the end of the year, I do a year in review. So I have a playlist of those. You can go watch those and get a pretty good review highlights of my life over the past 10 years, which is cool. But also just like, yeah, so my first video, actually, the first video I ever uploaded to YouTube is private now. It was a t-shirt recon video, and I made it private eventually because I was just getting, honestly, a lot of like hate mail from people in the DIY fashion community, and it's just like, it was so ridiculous to me. I was like, having this video up isn't worth it if people are gonna be like this. Like, this is not what it's supposed to be like, fam. Like, no, I'm not here for this. It probably wouldn't be like that now because there's so much more of a movement of like, don't be a jerk to people on the internet. Like, we're trying to, you know, YouTube is very self-policing, and like, we create our own community, we curate our own communities. So it's probably better now, but yeah, that first video was uploaded in like May of 2009, and I had been watching a little bit of YouTube before that. The first video on my channel that you can still see was uploaded in June of 2009, and it is a video from the summer solstice celebration in 2008 that my mom and I went to at our friend's house with some people who were part of the sort of metaphysical spiritualist co-op that we were a part of, that I kind of mentioned a little bit recently in one of my recent Pagan Perspective videos, talking about New Ageism and how like the New Age movement and spiritualism and stuff like that, how that played a role in my early practice and like the stuff that my mom was into. And yeah, so that video's up, you can watch that. It's the summer solstice celebration. It's very like interfaith, non-denominational, kind of pagan, but also just like spiritualist, kind of New Age, neo-pagan group of people getting together to celebrate the solstice. So that's there. And yeah, and then we started the Pagan Perspective collab in August of 2009. I was talking to Kyle a little bit the other day, and Kyle is still doing well, as are several of the other people from the past of the Pagan Perspective who I'm still in touch with. I'm not still in touch with everybody. Some of them still make videos or other content, some of them don't at all. So like I said, some people I still have contact with, some people I don't. But Kyle's doing well. We were talking, celebrating the anniversary together. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I got partnered on YouTube in 2011, and the rest is history. Yeah, I got partnered in 2011. That was a weird time. In the early days of YouTube also, video responses were still a thing, like an actual thing. Like, you could go to start typing a comment below, and there would be a button, like when you clicked into the text box to start typing a comment, you could either type a comment, or there was also a button that popped up that said leave a video response, or leave a video response or add a video response or something like that. And that's where you could upload a video to your own channel, and then in that little box you would click add a video response or whatever it said, and you could select the video from your channel that was a response to that person's video, and the responses to people's videos would actually show up down here right below the video. And it was really cool because that's when that's how a lot of us, I think, in the early days got to know each other. A lot of my early videos are video responses to other people's topics and questions about witchcraft and paganism. And now, of course, we still have an array of topics about witchcraft and paganism that people are talking about through Pagan Perspective, through people leaving their suggestions. And video responses are no longer an official thing where you can click in the little box and have it show up under the video, but we still encourage people to do responses to other people's videos. It's an easy way to come up with content. It's a great way to continue an ongoing conversation. So it's a little less streamlined as to how to find responses that people have made and like really be an ongoing chain of a conversation, but we can still respond to other people's videos and thoughts. It's just not an official feature of YouTube anymore. So YouTube has changed a lot as far as its own kind of mechanics and features. When I got partnered in 2011, it was weird because a bunch of people like thought that meant we were selling out just because we had ads on our videos now that made us like a couple fractions of a cent for every view. I can tell you that I did not get rich from having ads on my videos. And then over the years, like I don't know exactly when it was, but several years ago YouTube changed all the algorithms and AdSense became like we make even less from ads now than we used to, which is kind of where like Patreon came in and started filling that gap, because there were people like Megan Tonjes and all the other people kind of in that crew, Soundly Awake, Nicola Foti, people like that who were doing YouTube for a living. And I'm sure Dan and Phil and Jenna and Julian were affected by this too, but like AdSense used to be able to pay people's bills. And then when YouTube redid things and people started making even less, that became a big problem for people whose entire income was that. Yeah, people at the time back in 2011 were like calling us sellouts because we had ads, and like we're not rich from it, I promise you. But Patreon came in to kind of fill that gap. I do have a Patreon where if you enjoy my content and the kind of things that I put out into the world for free for everyone, you can sponsor my videos for $1 or more per month. It's up to you, and you can set your own maximum. You know, as far as stuff that's changed in my life, I mean, 2009, I had graduated high school. I was going into college. I vlogged and made videos all throughout college. I did Pagan Perspective all throughout college. And then I graduated from college in 2012, which I can't even believe how many years it's been since then. I went to England my last semester of college for 3 weeks. I did vlog it. I did edit a bunch of videos from it. And for technology difficulty reasons, I have not been able to upload them. I don't know if I will ever be able to upload them, and that's really sad. Because that's one of the bigger projects that I worked on before that I was really looking forward to posting and never got around to being able to do. Now my nose is itchy. And I also, like right at the end of, or like right after I graduated college, got back from England, started learning more about the reclaiming tradition of witchcraft, which has just become a bigger and bigger part of my life and my practice, and went to my first witch camp, and only one so far, in 2015. I have a series of videos talking about the types of things that I learned from that. So there's a playlist on this channel, My First Witch Camp. And yeah, so that, and also, let's see, I've lived several different places in the past 10 years. So I was living with my mom when I started on YouTube. I then, of course, lived at college and then with my mom over the summers. After I graduated, my mom moved across the country to Arizona, and I lived with my grandma for a little while. I had my own little house that I was renting for a little while. I lived with my brother and his father for a little while, and then I got an apartment with a friend. Had to kick them out because that situation became really awful and toxic and traumatizing, and I won't talk about that anymore, but we had to kick them out. and another friend of mine from college moved in for a little bit to like help me pay the bills in the interim because that was like a sudden thing. And then after that, my next move was to the city, like into Cleveland proper with my current partner. And then just most recently this past fall, after living in like real close to the city, like very close to downtown, walking distance, for a year, we got a house. And now I live here. That's a huge like 10-year difference that I can't imagine. Many relationships have passed. I've been with my current partner for 2 years, and yeah, like I've never been the kind of person who's good at like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? That's not how I like to think. I don't know. I also just have difficulty thinking that way. I'm not good at planning really long-term things like that. So would I have imagined being here in this place, but also just in this situation of my life at this point? No, like I can't predict things like that, and I'm not the best at predicting things that way, but also I just don't really enjoy thinking about things that way. I enjoy taking it as it comes. Maybe just like a year at a time is like the most I can do, and that's only like if I know that I want to attend a specific event next year or something like that, or if I have to plan a speaking engagement a year in advance. But that's like as much as I can do. But looking back, like at my first Pagan Perspective video, because I was editing that 10th anniversary video for the collab this past weekend and taking clips of everyone's first video for the channel, and of course, so mine was a whole 10 years ago. I still have the shirt that I was wearing in that video. I was wearing my hair, I think, very similarly to this. I do have a different pair of glasses now. I had braces back then. I could use them again. I lost my retainers. What are you gonna do, right? But yeah, I still have the hat that I wore like all throughout college, that black and white hat that like a lot of people at my college didn't recognize me without it because I always wore it. I still have that. So a lot of things are the same, but a lot of things are different, and I've grown a lot, I'm happy to say. Not physically, mind you. I've been this size since like 6th grade, but I've grown a lot emotionally, mentally, spiritually, if not physically. And yeah, so it's been a crazy 10 years. It's been a good 10 years. It's mostly just crazy that it's been 10 years. So let me know in the comments how long you've been watching my channel, and whether you went away for a while and then came back to watching my channel again later. That's cool. Let me know, like, when's the first time that you started watching my channel? Have you been here for 10 years, 10 months, 10 days, whatever? I appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching this. I know, actually, statistically, because of my analytics, I know that most people who start watching this video will not watch this entire video. So if you've watched this video up until this point, say something in the comments that you know only I will recognize and all the other people in the comments who watched to this point of the video will recognize. I don't know, an inside joke from my videos, something, a witch emoji, maybe. So I know that you watched the whole thing, because I know a lot of you do, even if you watch it in pieces. They are long videos. I will try to get some more shorter ones up there for you, so for some variety, for those of us who don't have as much time to just sit and listen to or watch YouTube videos. But I appreciate you for being here. Thanks so much for sticking around, and thanks for making the Pagan Perspective so successful and, you know, able to still be going after 10 years. If you've ever suggested a topic or asked a question of Pagan Perspective, that's awesome. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.